Is it possible for an agency like yours today to be, quote, a full service agency that would handle marketing problems, crisis communications, investor relations, internal relations, government relations? Or is there going to be more of a tendency to create boutique agencies downline that will specialize in these various fields rather than be a total package?
Try to be,
It may not be
yeah.
a fair question, I'm not sure.
Well, for an agency such as ourselves these days, we like to think of ourselves, as full service
Right.
because we're large enough. And I'm not saying that the boutique type agencies aren't going to have a value and exist, because I think they will. I think there'll be a place for both. I think when a major company that who is global, for example, wants an international agency of record, they're looking to an agency that has all these capabilities. So we have to do those things whether we like them or not. And so we have to have the capabilities in order to compete with the major agencies. We have to have offices in Washington, and we have to be represented in Brussels, and things of that nature. So we have to be almost all things to everybody. And I know that's difficult because there are a few agencies that really do specialize in just a couple of niches, and I think they'll do well. They'll continue to do well. But for agencies such as ourselves, who do want to represent a global company, we have to be able to have all those capabilities.
Can you find the people that will fill those kinds of responsibilities?
Well, it's not easy. It's not easy to find people because that's what we're all about. And finding the right people is absolutely the name of the game. And keeping them happy and moving them along at the right level so they know they have a future within rather than without is extremely important. I do think that sometimes we like to say we built up a culture here where we don't have a laundry list of clients like certain agencies do, who boast about that, and I think that's fine. But we don't. We like to say we have fewer clients, and we like to have more meaningful partnership relations with them, because we like to have people work on clients who really don't just give it a lick and promise. Because certain agencies will have people working on 10 clients, and we don't think you can really get to know that kind of company well enough to be effective.
Now, just to shift gears here a little bit, and you may have to really scratch your head to find an answer to this next question, but what was the biggest challenge you faced during your career to date?
Biggest challenge in terms of a client, you mean, or in
Client
anything,
or
anything?
anything you might have found that really tested your ability to solve the problem?
Well, sometimes we're now owned by another company,
Right.
as many firms are these days, where they're larger companies that own advertising agencies and promotion agencies and related kinds of companies. And that's a challenge because we like to separate ourselves from that, if you will, and retain what we think we've built up over the years. So probably the biggest challenge is to retain the culture that we've built up and not be sublimated by the parent company. And that's a constant thing that we go through, and I think they respect that and have given us that opportunity. And I know from other people in the industry, they don't quite get that, and so there's a terrific amount of stress sometimes in connection with that, of being owned by somebody else. And that's always a challenge after starting a business and being your own person, in trying to retain what you have built up over the years. And yet you want to grow and you want to utilize all the other things that they might offer. So again, it's that balancing act that's so important. But it's probably maybe one of the major challenges I can think of.
Well, I think that's an exceptionally good answer because it causes me to ask you a follow-up question to that, and that is, it seems like that the advertising agencies or some of the major advertising agencies are the acquirers of bona fide public relations firms like yourself. And I'm not sure whether that's a healthy thing or not to have the advertising as a specialty be the acquirer as opposed to public relations, which I would perceive as be more all-encompassing than advertising. So how does you deal with that kind of perceptions like that people would have?
Well, it is, as I said earlier, a challenge to separate the two, if you will. And I think that the smart ones, who are the parent companies, realize that it is a different kind of business. And you can't generalize about it as you can running, a promotion agency or something of that nature. That we do have a unique kind of business, and they respect that. Hopefully, you've convinced them, or you've given them enough reason to say, "I'm doing fine. I'm doing well. Don't tamper with this." I think it's, as I say, I think the smart ones will respect that and leave you alone and try to have you retain what you do best.
Circling back to a subject you touched on a little bit ago, most of us have grown up being able to use the traditional media to influence public opinion one way or the other. We felt that one of the major responsibilities of public relations was to be able to influence public opinion. With the changes in the media structure that we foresee now, how easy is it going to be to use traditional media to influence public opinion, and what substitutes are there for that if newspaper readership, as you said earlier, and TV listenership or viewership is going down? How does the public relations person who wants to make a change or create change, what do?
Well, it's very difficult because when I started in business, there were 3 television networks to deal with, and you could reach 90% of the audience with any of those 3 networks. Or there were major outlets with certain magazines. Today there are thousands and thousands of magazines, and thousands of websites and blogs, and who would have thought of all these blogs? They're starting by the thousand, almost a daily basis. So you almost have to go after individuals more than ever before. I think the whole mass market thing is dwindling, that you have to tailor your messages to specific audiences rather than try to just be all things to everybody. And I think that the average public relations person has to be that very conscious of that. And I think we have to be protective of that in the sense of the competitors like advertising agencies who may want to get into that business because they're looking for new ways to have income. Their business is down, and because of this traditional media being off. So they're looking for ways to reach audiences. So they're getting into areas where it used to be just public relations people. Mm-hmm. There's a gray area right now of who does what.
In one sense, you're saying that public relations is going to be more involved in market segmentation and audience recognition than they ever have been in the past, and this is actually stealing a chapter out of an advertising textbook.
Well, it is. It is, and it's media, of course, is the same kind of thing, whether you're advertising or you're doing public relations. And I think that you constantly have to, we hate to have advertising influence public relations. When we grew up, we always said that was a no-no, that advertising had nothing to do with public relations. And sometimes, if we were in a newspaper office and talked to a reporter about a client and said, by the way, they're a big advertiser in your newspaper, the average reporter would throw us out because they say that, that's not cricket. So and we hope it still won't be that way. But today it is blurring a lot, where a lot of ad agencies are buying time on certain shows and think they can get messages within the body of that show as an add-on, whether it's the product placement or whether it's a mention or whether it's talking about a particular industry. So there is that's the danger of that sort of thing, and I think we have to be conscious of all the new media, but we also have to be conscious of what we do and what they do.
This is a little bit of an aside. It's always was true in the movie industry, but it seems like it's even more so in some of the recent movies I've seen where there have been product placements and messages that the tobacco industry has been superb at this is
Yeah.
regenerating.
That's right.
interest in
Where they
smoking.
can't buy advertising, they figure they've got big budgets,
They're,
and a lot of them, of course, got into things like NASCAR and,
Right.
and other sports sponsorship in order to get their name across, because they can't get involved. They can't buy the advertising, particularly those kinds of companies.
Do you see branding as a part of advertising or public relations? How do you see the subject of branding these days?
Well, I think somebody I know who's a great marketing guy said to me that without trust, a brand is nothing. So I think that public relations builds trust in a brand, and that's a very important thing. And you can buy a lot of advertising if you're Coca-Cola, but it won't necessarily make it a trusted brand if you don't do certain things to complement that sort of thing. So I think that in our business we have to be very conscious of brand, and I don't think there are a lot of purists in our business too who say we should not have anything to do with marketing or brands or things of that nature. Well, I've never believed that. I've always felt that this was a very important part of what we do. And I think if we take ourselves too seriously sometimes and worry about the word profession, I think it's a danger. I think we have to realize this is a business, and you have to think of it as a business as well as a profession, and not let the other part of it overrule the fact that it is business.